This is a short presentation about field research. It specifically focuses on what kinds of knowledge you might get out of field research and how you might use it. The assumption behind field research is that there are things you can find out about almost any kind of subject matter that can't be found necessarily in other forms of publication, such as books, articles, or databases. It assumes that you yourself can go out and make relevant knowledge about a subject simply by observing or surveying or interviewing. And it assumes that while you may find all kinds of information in other forms of research, that going out and making some knowledge of your own may find or provide a crucial piece that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So, why should you bother to do field research? One reason is that it helps you to understand more about the situation into which you're writing. This is what we've called kairos. That is, it helps you, as a writer, understand the situation, the people, the actual physical locations, the people's work and opinions and their ways of using information, and that understanding all of that will help you do a better job of accurately aiming your own writing at a specific situation. This also has to do with rhetorical attunement. That is, what we're always having to make a balance between what we know about a subject or an issue, the research we have made for ourselves about that subject or issue, and the people who are going to use the information, the situation and the typical ways that they use information or circulate ideas, and how understanding more about all of those things, which is something you can find out by doing well-planned field research, will help you to attune your writing rhetorically to the situation in which you are aiming. And lastly, it will help you to understand something more about how people use information and writing in the situation you're aiming at, and to help you make your writing, therefore, more usable in that situation and by those people. So we're going to talk about three methods of field research: conducting surveys, conducting interviews, and conducting field observations. And let me just say at the outset that there are brief but very helpful guidelines in the reading Conducting Field Research, linked on the reading page for this week for all three methods. So if you want to conduct a survey, this method can help you to gather data and get the views of many different people on a particular subject. As you must know, there are online tools that you can use to do this. So you should try to figure out the best way to retrieve the information and to plan the survey so that you get more than one type of response, which then rounds out the information you get. There are good guidelines for putting together a solid survey in the aforementioned reading, Conducting Field Research, and it's specifically in the section and subsections titled Conducting Surveys. If you're planning to conduct an interview, you'll want to make sure that you plan the interview in much the same way that you would plan a survey. It can feel easy because an interview is a conversation to think that an interview is easy to conduct. But a well-planned interview will go much, much better than a cold interview. And some tips might be to plan easy to answer questions at the beginning of the interview, more open-ended questions at the end that invite expansiveness and deeper thinking toward the latter part of the interview. Figure out a way to record what you're hearing from your interview subject that could mean using a tape recorder. It could also mean conducting an interview by email, which would then give you a text representation. You'd want to balance the fact that when you get an email, you don't get some of the nuances that you would get if you're sitting face to face. For more information on how to conduct an interview, you should look at the reading, Conducting Field Research, and specifically the sections called Interviewing Experts and Corresponding with Experts. Lastly, when you conduct a field observation, you have an opportunity to see firsthand how people move around and interact in a site. Some specific ways that you can plan good field observations you can find by looking at the reading, specifically the section called Observing in the Field, which will give you good ideas for how to plan and prepare for a field observation, including doing a little research beforehand, getting permissions, and methods of recording what you observe.